good evening, and welcome back. Tonight, as the world outside grows still, let your thoughts drift softly into the calm of history. We'll journey through a story that feels both distant and familiar, the quiet vanishing of the great Maya civilization, slowly fading beneath the jungle's green breath. So, settle in, and let the sound of the crackling fire and the rhythm of my voice carry you into a peaceful night of wonder and rest. Before we begin, tell me, where are you listening from tonight? What time is it there? Wherever you are, I hope this story wraps around you like a warm blanket. And before we go any further, if you enjoy calm tales like this, you can gently press the like or subscribe button. No rush at all. Perhaps later, after you've fallen asleep. Settle in now, take a deep breath, and let your mind wander through the quiet forests of Central America. Long before modern roads and cities, the Maya built their world of stone, vast temples, open plazas, and tall observatories that watched the skies. Each sunrise painted their cities gold, each sunset whispered against their walls. They lived among the rhythm of earth and stars, shaping time itself with precision and care. In their cities, thousands of people once walked the grand stone paths. Farmers carried baskets of maize, artisans carved intricate patterns into limestone, and children laughed near courtyards lined with bright murals. It was a civilization alive with structure, balance, and purpose. A world that pulsed quietly beneath the tropical sun. But time is patient, and nature even more so. As centuries passed, the laughter faded, and vines began to curl around the stones. Roots pushed through walls once polished and bright. The jungle crept closer, silently reclaiming what had been shaped by human hands. Close your eyes for a moment, and picture it. A vast temple swallowed by green birds, circling where banners once waved. The forest hums, calm and steady, as if the earth itself is breathing over forgotten cities. It is not a scene of destruction, but of rest, a civilization gently tucked beneath nature's blanket. Archaeologists call it disappearance, but perhaps it was something quieter, a gradual fading, like the dimming of a lantern at dawn. People moved, time changed, and the jungle simply waited, patient and unhurried. It's almost poetic how silence can preserve what noise once destroyed. The Maya were not lost, their descendants live on even today, carrying memories in language, craft, and story. But their grand cities, those proud centers of stone, became whispers, half remembered and half hidden beneath layers of time. Each fallen wall tells a story of endurance, not defeat. Let your breathing slow here as we linger in the quiet between centuries. Imagine standing before one of those ancient cities, moonlight shimmering on the moss-covered steps, a warm breeze brushing your face. All around you, the sounds of the night blend into a soft lullaby of crickets and leaves. It's as though the earth is gently reminding us that everything created by human hands eventually returns to stillness. A small reminder before we continue, you don't need to stay awake for the whole story. Let the calm guide you. You can drift in and out, and the story will wait for you here, steady and slow, like the heartbeat of the jungle itself. The Maya world began thousands of years ago, built on patience and understanding of the land. Their farmers read the seasons, their builders worked with the stones, not against them. They didn't fight the earth, they followed it, shaped by the same rhythm of growth and rest that guides all living things. When you imagine the Maya world, don't think of ruins or loss. Think of the balance between people and nature. Think of a civilization that once flourished quietly, without the noise of engines or screens. Their greatness wasn't measured by power, but by harmony, and in that silence, there's something soothing for us to remember tonight. Let's pause for a moment here. Breathe in deeply and exhale slowly. You might notice how your body feels heavier, your eyelids softer. That's the rhythm of calm history. It doesn't rush, it simply unfolds. In the next part, we'll step deeper into the forest, where the echoes of their footsteps still rest beneath the soil, and the jungle whispers their story back to the stars. But for now, stay here, in this quiet space between past and sleep. Let the memory of the Maya drift like mist across your thoughts, soft, ancient, and unhurried. Good, you're doing beautifully. The night is calm, and the story has only just begun. As we continue our quiet journey, imagine yourself walking along a moss-covered path. The air feels thick and warm, filled with the scent of earth and rain. Every step you take echoes faintly, like walking across the edge of time. Here, deep in the jungle, you can almost feel the pulse of what once was, the quiet heartbeat of an ancient world beneath your feet. In the distance, a single temple rises through the trees, its stones softened by centuries of rain. No crowds, no noise, only the hum of insects and the distant call of an owl. You pause for a moment, feeling how silence becomes its own language here. It tells stories without words, patiently waiting for anyone who chooses to listen. When explorers first stumbled upon these places, the jungle had already done its work. The temples weren't destroyed, they were embraced. Roots wound gently around pillars, as if protecting them. The forest didn't erase history, it guarded it, layer by layer, keeping it safe beneath its green veil. If you listen closely, you might hear the soft rustle of leaves, a reminder that nature never forgets. What humans abandon, the earth remembers, and in that remembrance, there's peace. The kind of peace that lets both the land and the mind rest. Take another slow breath. Let your shoulders drop, your jaw unclench, your thoughts soften. The story, like the jungle, moves gently now. It doesn't rush, it waits for you to catch up. That's the beauty of history told at night. It gives you space to breathe. In the heart of these ruins, small creatures make their homes, birds nesting in ancient carvings, vines stretching through open doorways. Life continues quietly, not as a replacement for what was, but as a continuation. The jungle has not conquered the Maya. It has become their final companion. Even in ruin, there is beauty. Stone steps worn by time, patterns carved by patient hands, each mark a message that survived centuries. If you trace your fingers along those lines, you can almost feel the echo of their craft. Human hands shaping stone, guided by focus, not noise. It's humbling how something so silent can still speak so clearly. Soft reminder, you don't have to stay awake for the ending. It's okay to drift now. Let the sound of the imagined fire, the hush of the night, and the calm rhythm of this story carry you wherever your rest begins. The story will keep flowing, steady as the rivers that once nourished the Maya fields. As the centuries passed, vines thickened, soil rose, and the jungle closed in. But even as their cities disappeared, the Maya themselves never did. They adapted, moved, and carried their knowledge through generations. Their story didn't end, it simply changed its shape, like rivers finding new paths through stone. Now, picture the forest under moonlight, beams of silver slipping between the leaves, resting on silent walls. Every shadow, every whisper of wind, feels like a memory. This is not the end of a civilization. It's the resting breath between one chapter and the next. In that calm, we can find something deeply human, the quiet truth that all things change, yet the essence remains. Let that thought settle over you like a soft blanket. The world turns, empires fade, and still the forest breathes. Somewhere, far away, the night deepens, and you are safe within it, surrounded by calm, wrapped in sound, drifting between story and sleep. So, as we leave this ancient world behind for tonight, take one last deep breath. The jungle stands guard, timeless and patient. The stones rest quietly, their stories preserved by the one who allows all things to exist. And you can rest too, knowing that history, like the night, will always wait for you. Sleep well, traveler of quiet histories. May peace fill your thoughts, and stillness guide your dreams. Good night. The night deepens, and our story drifts further into the heart of the Maya world. It is a place of rhythm, not the rhythm of machines or cities, but of wind through leaves, of footsteps on soft soil, of time measured by the slow dance of the sun and moon. Here, life was built on balance, between rain and earth, between silence and sound, between people and the land that carried them. The Maya world stretched far and wide across the rolling hills of Guatemala, the limestone plains of Mexico's Yucatan, the jungles of Belize, and the river valleys of Honduras. Their cities rose like islands in a sea of green, each connected by long stone causeways that wound through the forest like ancient veins. Imagine walking those roads, shaded by towering trees, as the soft hum of insects follows you through the air. Their cities were not only places of stone, but of life, marketplaces filled with the soft murmur of trade, with the scent of cacao and fresh maize, with the bright colors of woven cloth catching the sunlight. Every building, every courtyard was designed with intention. The Maya understood light, sound, and space in ways that made their cities breathe with natural harmony. They built not only to live, but to listen to the sky, the seasons, and the quiet wisdom of nature. Their homes were made of wood and thatch, simple yet strong, built with what the forest offered, and their larger buildings carved from limestone stood as steady reflections of the landscape itself, shaped by patient, careful hands. If you were to stand atop one of their stone platforms at sunrise, you would see mist stretching across the canopy, golden light piercing through the branches. The air would hum softly with life, and the world would feel perfectly balanced, as if every sound, every breath, belonged exactly where it was meant to be. The Maya lived within this balance, not above it. Their days were guided by observation of the stars, the rain, and the soil beneath their feet. They watched the heavens closely, not for worship, but for understanding, a way to track time, to plan harvests, to live in rhythm with creation. Their calendars were not tools of control, but of cooperation with the natural world. They knew that when the stars shifted, the rains followed, and so their lives moved with the cycles of the earth, not against them. Their knowledge of mathematics, architecture, and the sky came not from sudden discovery, but from generations of observation and patience. They learned to read patterns in the movement of planets, in the behavior of crops, in the pulse of the seasons. This wisdom was passed quietly through families and communities, preserved not in books but in memory. You can almost imagine the calm of those evenings. Families gathered as the air cooled, stories drifting like smoke through the night air. Somewhere nearby, a pot of maize simmers, the forest hums, and the stars appear one by one. There is peace in the thought that, long before us, others also watched the same night sky, wondering, learning, and resting beneath it. Take a slow breath now. Let your mind linger on that image, the soft glow of torchlight, the faint song of night insects, the air thick with the scent of rain and soil. The Maya world was not loud or hurried. It was steady, alive, and deeply aware. To live there was to feel connected, not just to one another, but to everything around you. This story moves at the same pace as the forest itself. You don't need to follow every detail, just let the rhythm carry you. It's enough to simply listen, to rest within the calm of an ancient world where life flowed with the land. The Maya did not see themselves apart from nature. They were part of its cycle. The rivers that fed their crops, the stones that built their homes, the winds that cooled their evenings, all were blessings, not possessions. And in that quiet respect, their world endured for centuries, not through conquest, but through harmony. The cities of the Maya were like living organisms. Their plazas were hearts that gathered people. Their roads were veins that connected distant communities. Each structure had purpose. Each design followed the rhythm of the earth. They built upward, not out of pride, but out of awe, reaching toward the sky as a reflection of gratitude for what lay beneath. Even now, as you listen, perhaps you can feel that same sense of peace, a balance between the known and the unknown. History, like nature, has a way of calming us when told gently. It reminds us that even in the passage of centuries, the essence of being human has never truly changed. As we move deeper into their world, the Maya cities begin to feel alive in your imagination. Stone courtyards glow softly in the afternoon light, and the air hums with the quiet activity of daily life. Children chase each other through narrow walkways, traders display bright fabrics and pottery, and the scent of roasted maize drifts through the air. It is a world both structured and simple, complex in design, yet calm in rhythm. Their art spoke of life itself, animals, plants, people, and the turning of the seasons. Each carving, each painted wall, was a reflection of observation, not fantasy. They painted what they saw, what they felt, and what they hoped to remember. Their hands shaped stories from stone and clay, leaving traces of humanity that still whisper to us across the centuries. Farming, too, was part of their rhythm, a constant dialogue between soil and sky. They grew maize, beans, and squash crops that complemented each other, sharing nutrients just as the people shared labor and care. They managed water with skill, guiding it through channels and reservoirs, ensuring that the land could rest and recover. In every field, there was balance, patience rewarded with abundance. When you think about the Maya, imagine not grand palaces first, but the quiet work of hands, the slow weaving of cloth, the steady beat of grinding maize, the sound of wooden tools shaping stone. These were the real sounds of their civilization, steady, grounded, peaceful, and perhaps this is why their story feels so human. Take a slow breath, let your shoulders loosen. You can almost hear that distant world, no rush, no endless noise, only the rhythm of purpose and simplicity. It's a kind of peace that modern life rarely allows, a gentle reminder of what it means to move in harmony with time. The Maya were also travelers and traders. They moved goods, ideas, and stories across long distances, connecting inland cities with the coast. From the highlands came obsidian and jade. From the lowlands came salt, cacao, and cotton. Their trade was not only about survival, it was about connection, weaving their vast world together like a tapestry. In their society, every role mattered. Farmers, builders, artisans, record keepers, each one contributed to the quiet strength of their communities. The Maya did not depend on one great leader or one central city. Their power was shared across many centers, each with its own heartbeat. That balance gave them resilience, allowing their culture to endure even when the great cities began to fade. If your mind begins to wander, that's perfectly fine. You don't need to hold on to every detail. This is a story meant to rest with you, not to demand your attention. Let it drift, like leaves floating on a slow, clear river. At night, their cities would quiet. Torches flickered softly in the courtyards, the forest sang in the distance, and the people rested beneath a canopy of stars. For them, the sky was a calendar, a guide, and a comfort. It told them when to plant, when to harvest, and when to pause, a cosmic reminder of order and peace. Now, picture that same night sky, the same stars you might see above you now, the same quiet hum of the world continuing on as it always has. The Maya lived their days, finding meaning not in noise or power, but in balance and continuity. And as we drift deeper into their story, the forest begins to whisper again, reminding us that even the grandest worlds begin with quiet roots. Morning light spills softly across the jungle canopy. Mist rises like breath from the trees, curling between vines and branches. As the first golden rays touch the tips of ancient stones, this was the world of the Maya at their height, a civilization that flourished, quietly but magnificently, within the heartbeat of the rainforest. Their cities did not conquer nature, they grew from it. Temples stood like hills shaped by human hands, and plazas opened like clearings made to welcome the sun. Every structure was aligned with the rhythm of the seasons, so that the light of dawn and dusk traced perfect lines through their walls. To live here was to live in constant conversation with the earth. The rainforest provided both challenge and gift. Its soil was thin, its weather unpredictable, yet the Maya learned to listen to it. They built terraces to hold the rain, canals to guide the flow of rivers, and reservoirs to catch what the skies would not always give. Through patience and wisdom, they turned hardship into harmony. If you could walk through their world then, you would hear the faint music of daily life, the crackle of fire, the rustle of palm leaves, the rhythm of tools against stone. No clamor, no engines, only the deep steady pulse of a people who worked with their hands and hearts. Each sound would blend with the jungle's own melody, birds calling from the trees, water flowing through channels, the breeze moving softly between wooden homes. Their understanding of farming was remarkable. They didn't rely on endless expansion or domination of the land. Instead, they practiced renewal, letting fields rest, rotating crops, and treating the soil as a living companion. Their greatest tool was patience, the same patience that allowed their civilization to endure for centuries. Pause for a moment and breathe in slowly. Imagine standing among the rows of maize beneath the warm sun. The air is rich with life, the hum of insects, the scent of wet earth, the distant call of howler monkeys. Every sound, every detail feels woven together into one living pattern. The Maya did not separate the practical from the beautiful. Their farming fields were as much a work of care as their temples. Each small action, a seed planted, a stone set in place, was part of a much larger rhythm of respect. And that respect built a civilization stronger than any single city could ever be. Trade routes carried more than goods. They carried trust. Villages shared food and tools. Families exchanged knowledge about weather, harvest, and health. It was cooperation, not conquest, that made the Maya world thrive. Their success was not measured by power, but by how well they could live within the rainforest without breaking its balance. Soft reminder, You don't need to follow every thought. Just listen to the calm between each word. Let the story move through you like a breeze through tall grass, gentle, rhythmic, and without effort. That's how the Maya lived, too. Not forcing their world, but flowing with it. Their lives were filled with purpose. They built with intention, planted with care, and rested with gratitude. Every sunrise carried meaning. Every season brought lessons. The forest didn't merely surround them, it sustained them, sheltering their homes, feeding their crops, and guarding their cities beneath an endless sea of green. As their world grew, so did their creativity. In the quiet glow of the afternoon, artisans shaped beauty from the simplest materials: shells, clay, feathers, and stones. Their hands moved with patience, carving, weaving, painting the patterns of the natural world they loved. Every design, every color, seemed to echo the heartbeat of the forest around them. Their cities reflected this same harmony. From above, they looked almost organic plazas, opening like petals, temples rising like trees. The Maya did not build in defiance of nature, they built within it. Their architecture was a reflection of understanding, a way to exist alongside creation without claiming it. At night, their cities glowed softly with firelight. Families gathered near open doorways, voices low, laughter gentle, the air carrying the scent of roasted maize and smoke. In the distance, the jungle hummed its endless song, blending with the rhythm of human life. It must have felt eternal, the connection between land, sky, and community. Their knowledge of time was unlike any other. They measured not just days or years, but cycles, the long breadth of seasons and generations. To them, time wasn't an enemy to race against, but a companion to walk beside. That understanding allowed them to see change not as loss, but as part of the world's natural order. Take another slow breath. Let that thought rest with you, the peace of a people who moved with time instead of against it. The same peace that lies in the forest today, hidden in the roots and stones, waiting for anyone who listens closely enough. This is the kind of calm that doesn't vanish, only changes its shape. Their art and writing captured the rhythm of their world. Symbols carved into stone told stories of life, growth, and memory. They recorded seasons, harvests, and the movement of stars, a quiet archive of balance between knowledge and humility. Even now, those carvings speak in silence, their lines softened by centuries of wind and rain. Everywhere in their world, there was intention. Even their cities were built to breathe, open spaces that caught the wind, waterways that mirrored the sky. When rain fell, it didn't destroy, it nourished. Their mastery was not in domination, but in cooperation, a lesson that still feels quietly wise. Let your thoughts drift where they will. You don't need to picture every detail. Just feel the rhythm beneath the words. The story is a river, and you are floating peacefully along its surface, carried by calm and time. You are safe here, surrounded by the gentle memory of an ancient world. But even as the Maya flourished, small signs began to appear. Fields that needed more care. Rivers that ran thinner in the dry season. Seasons that arrived a little later than before. For now, though, the people continued, patient and skilled, believing in the balance they had always known. The forest still sang, the stars still guided, and the cities still shone beneath the sun. It was the height of their world, beautiful, strong, and unaware that change was already beginning to whisper in the wind. And as the jungle swayed under the weight of another golden sunset, the world of the Maya breathed calmly on. The stone plazas glowed warm in the fading light, shadows stretching like soft silk across the ground. It was a moment of peace before the storm of time, a world at its peak, poised between glory and quiet retreat. The rainforest held its breath, watching, waiting, and remembering. The rainforest, once generous and green, began to change its rhythm. Rains that had always come on time started to hesitate. The air grew drier, the rivers shallower, and the once fertile fields whispered a quiet warning through the brittle leaves. At first, no one noticed, because change, when it comes, often begins in silence. The Maya were patient people, used to cycles of abundance and scarcity. When the first droughts came, they waited for the sky to forgive them. They dug deeper wells, built new reservoirs, and trusted in their knowledge of the land. But the earth had grown tired, and the clouds no longer kept their promise. Imagine walking through one of their great cities then, plazas still standing tall, but quieter now. The laughter of markets replaced by the murmur of concern, stone steps warm beneath the sun, but the wells below beginning to dry. The jungle, which had once been a partner, now seemed to draw back, as if holding its breath. They had always relied on balance between rain and soil, people and forest, yet the balance was shifting. Harvests began to fail, and villages that once shared abundance now struggled to feed themselves. Trade routes thinned, not from war, but from necessity. The same rivers that had connected them began to separate them. Take a slow breath here. The story doesn't rush, it waits. Even in decline, there is beauty, the quiet resilience of people trying to hold their world together. The Maya didn't vanish in panic. They adapted, step by step, as any people would when faced with uncertainty. Archaeologists would later find signs of this struggle carved in stone, records of fewer festivals, fewer offerings of thanks for good harvests. Walls repaired again and again, until even repair became a kind of ritual. Life didn't stop all at once. It simply became harder, day by day, like a candle burning slower in still air. Families began to move away from the great centers, towards smaller, more fertile lands. The heart of the civilization scattered, not destroyed, but dispersed. The forest welcomed them again, taking back the plazas and steps they had once cleared. In its quiet way, nature was reminding them of the fragile line between control and surrender. You don't need to dwell on the sadness of this moment. Think of it instead as change, as a shift in rhythm. The same world that once gave so much was asking for rest. And like all living things, the Maya world began to slow, to breathe, and to let go. The temples that once rose proudly above the canopy began to fade into the green. Birds nested in their corners, vines wound gently around their stones. The jungle was not cruel, it was patient. It covered the traces of hardship with beauty, turning loss into quiet preservation. Still, even as the great cities faded, the people endured. They didn't disappear, they changed, moving to places where the rivers still ran and the soil still fed their crops. Their spirit, their language, their memory continued, passed through generations who still carry it today. The forest, too, remembered them, every root and leaf whispering of a world that once flourished and still breathes beneath the shade of time. As seasons turned, the signs of strain deepened. What once had been gentle rain became long months of dry heat, and rivers shrank into narrow streams that glimmered weakly under the sun. The forests around the great cities began to thin as people searched for new farmland and firewood. The land that had once given life began, slowly, to ask for rest. Leaders and builders tried to restore the order that had once held their world together. New terraces were built, reservoirs deepened, and prayers of hope were whispered in the quiet of dawn. But the pattern of time had shifted, and no plan could make the clouds return as they once did. The earth was simply reminding them that everything built must eventually return to stillness. Imagine walking through one of their cities in those final days. The plazas are empty now, the sound of children replaced by the whisper of dry leaves moving through abandoned courtyards. The great stone faces carved into the walls stare silently at the horizon, their expressions calm, unchanging. The jungle creeps closer, one leaf at a time, soft and patient. Despite the hardship, life went on. People adapted, smaller communities formed, closer to rivers and valleys, where the soil still held strength. The knowledge of farming, building, and measuring time never vanished. It was carried quietly from parent to child, a thread of wisdom woven into survival. Take a deep breath here. Let that thought settle. Even in moments of decline, there is continuity. Just as the trees shed their leaves to bloom again, so too did the Maya world transform, not disappear. Some cities fell entirely into silence, their stones left for the forest to cradle. Others lingered, smaller but still alive, holding on to the last rhythms of the old order. The jungle grew thicker around them, weaving vines over rooftops, wrapping walls with tender patience. It was not destruction, it was renewal, written in the quiet language of nature. If you feel yourself drifting, let it happen. This story was never meant to be held tightly. It flows like water, through rise and fall, through growth and rest, and right now, the current is gentle, carrying you through the calm of endings that are really just beginnings. Archaeologists today walk those same forests, brushing away soil from carved stones, piecing together fragments of lives that once filled the air with laughter. Every discovery feels like hearing a whisper through time, a reminder that the Maya never truly vanished. Their descendants still speak the same languages, plant the same crops, live near the same rivers. The civilization may have faded, but its roots remain deep in the heart of the jungle. And so, the forest kept its promise. It covered the broken walls with green, it softened the corners of fallen steps. It replaced the noise of human life with birdsong and wind. In doing so, it preserved what remained, not as ruins of defeat, but as memories of balance and beauty. The jungle did not erase the Maya. It protected them, holding their story close beneath layers of time. Tonight, as the firelight fades in your mind, think of that balance, the peace of endings that are not final, but gentle transitions into rest. The Maya world did not collapse in chaos. It exhaled, quietly, into the waiting arms of nature. And as the jungle still breathes above those forgotten stones, so too does history breathe within you, calm, slow, and eternal in its rhythm. Let that thought carry you deeper into rest, where even time itself feels still. High above the rainforest canopy, the sky stretched vast and endless. It had always been their guide, the quiet clock of the world, marking days, seasons, and years with gentle precision. For generations, the Maya had trusted the heavens to tell them when to plant, when to rest, and when to celebrate. But now, the sky seemed different, heavier somehow, as if its rhythm had changed. The people looked upward, searching for patterns they had always known. They watched the stars that once traced clear paths through the night, but the rains they foretold no longer came as expected. The sun rose hotter, lingered longer, and the once predictable seasons began to drift like lost birds. It was as though time itself had slowed, and the balance they had relied upon began to tremble. For the Maya, the sky was not a mystery to fear, it was a language to understand. Each sunrise, Each phase of the moon carried meaning. The heavens were not distant. They were close, woven into the pulse of the earth and the rhythm of human life. When the sky changed, it was not ignored, it was felt deeply, like the weight of a quiet sadness pressing down on their world. Imagine standing beneath that vast sky. The horizon glows gold in the distance, the air still and heavy, the calls of birds fading into silence. Somewhere behind you, the jungle hums softly, yet even it seems to pause. The world feels suspended, beautiful, but uneasy, as if the sky is holding its breath. The Maya recorded these shifts carefully, carving them into stone and painting them on walls. They observed, compared, and adjusted their calendars, adapting to the strange delays of the seasons. They didn't panic. They studied. They tried to understand what the earth was telling them, the same way one might listen to a friend's quiet sorrow. Take a moment here to breathe in slowly. Feel the air expand in your chest, then let it fall away. That rhythm, rise and fall, inhale and release, is the same rhythm that guided the Maya. Even when the sky felt uncertain, they sought calm in patience. Their knowledge of the heavens was not about control. It was about harmony, about finding peace within patterns that could not always be predicted. They knew that change was part of creation, that nothing in the world stayed still for long. In this, they carried a quiet wisdom that still speaks softly across the centuries. If you begin to drift, let yourself drift. There's no need to follow every word. Just rest within the tone. History, like sleep, doesn't need to be chased. It comes to you when you're ready, gently and without effort. And so, as the Maya watched the shifting sky, they did what they had always done. They adapted. They looked to new stars, traced new patterns, and continued their patient dialogue with the world above. Even as their cities faltered, their gaze remained steady, still searching for meaning in the quiet light of the heavens. For them, the sky was not a reminder of loss, but a teacher, one that spoke in silence, and always in its own time. The nights grew longer, and the stars seemed to shift ever so slightly. The people began to notice how constellations rose in unfamiliar places, how the moonlight felt softer, more distant. Even the air carried a new stillness, the kind that makes the world feel both vast and fragile at once. Underneath that changing sky, the Maya continued their quiet search for understanding. They gathered at dusk to share observations, how the horizon glowed a little redder, how the rains came weeks too late. They compared memories, the wisdom of elders mingling with the wonder of the young. No one claimed to know all the answers. They simply watched, listened, and adjusted, treating the heavens with respect rather than fear. For them, patience was an act of faith, not in chance, but in balance. They believed that the world moved in cycles. What withers will bloom again, what fades will someday return. This understanding brought comfort, even as uncertainty grew. It allowed them to face the unknown, not with despair, but with quiet strength. Imagine lying on your back on a warm night, surrounded by the endless canopy of stars. You hear the distant hum of the forest, the slow rhythm of your own breath. Above you, time stretches, no beginning, no end, just motion and light. That same sense of calm guided the Maya through their changing world. Their astronomers marked the passing of seasons by watching the sunrise from temple steps. Each angle of light, each shadow cast by stone, told a story. Even when the rains failed, they continued to study, not to demand answers, but to understand the rhythm of the sky they loved. Knowledge, for them, was a form of peace. You don't need to stay awake for every part of this story. It's enough to listen, to breathe, and to feel the calm beneath the words. Let the quiet cadence of history ease your thoughts. Like the Maya, you too can rest beneath the same sky that connects every time and every life. The Maya found meaning not in control, but in surrender, the acceptance that nature's rhythm was greater than any single city or generation. They didn't fight the sky, they adjusted to it. They built new ways of farming, shifted their calendars, and continued to find beauty in a world that refused to stay still. Their resilience was a lesson that peace is not found in certainty, but in harmony, and in this harmony, their story softened. The stars became not warnings, but companions, reminders that even in change, there is order. Every bright point above them was a thread connecting past and present, life and memory. And so they endured, not through power, but through patience. In the end, the weight of the sky was not a burden, but a teacher's hand. It pressed gently, reminding them and us that every rise and fall, every drought and storm, every still night and burning dawn is part of one vast, living cycle. The Maya lived within that truth until their last great city fell silent. And even now, when we look up, we see what they saw, the same sky, the same quiet invitation to listen. Tonight, let that sky rest above you to infinite.com and full of quiet rhythm. Let your thoughts drift as theirs once did, carried softly through time and light. The story continues, but for now, the sky is enough. Breathe, rest, and let the peace of the ancient world settle gently into your dreams. The cities that once pulsed with life began to fall silent. Markets where traders once bartered now echoed with the rustle of leaves. The plazas that had seen festivals and celebrations stood empty beneath the sun. Stone steps, once worn smooth by thousands of feet, lay untouched except for the quiet touch of rain and vines. The Maya world, once alive with voices, had entered a season of stillness, a long, gentle exhale beneath the watching sky. Imagine walking through one of those cities as evening falls. The air is warm, the light golden, and the jungle hums softly at the edges of stone. You pass beneath an archway that has stood for centuries, feeling the air grow cool and damp. Somewhere, water drips from a leaf onto a cracked stair. There is no ruin here, only peace, a quiet return to balance between time, earth, and memory. No battles marked these departures, no fire or conquest swept through the plazas. The people left gradually, guided by need and nature's call. One by one, families gathered their tools, their seeds, their woven baskets, and walked toward fertile valleys. They took with them knowledge, songs, and stories, the invisible treasures that no forest could take away. Behind them, the stones stood patient, waiting for the jungle to arrive. The forest crept forward with slow, deliberate grace. Roots pressed into cracks, ferns grew in the shadow of temples, and branches leaned gently over carved walls. Birds built nests in the corners of rooms once filled with laughter. What the people had built, the earth now held with care. The jungle was not an intruder. It was a guardian returning to keep watch over its children. Take a breath and imagine that stillness. The air smells of rain and moss, the light filtered through layers of green. You can hear the faint trickle of a nearby stream, the rhythmic chirp of unseen insects. The sound of human life has faded, replaced by the endless patience of the forest. And yet, nothing feels lost, only transformed, softened by time's quiet touch. The Maya cities became sanctuaries for life once more. Animals wandered through the plazas. Vines hung like curtains across temple doorways. The forest didn't erase the Maya world, it embraced it, weaving human creation back into nature's design. It's a kind of mercy, how the earth reclaims what was made from it, covering every scar with beauty. In that embrace, the past is never gone, it simply changes form. If your mind feels heavy, let it rest here. You don't need to imagine every detail. Just feel the peace that lingers in this place, where endings are gentle and silence feels alive. This isn't the fall of a civilization, it's the world breathing again, quietly, steadily, beneath the same sun that once shone over the Maya. Archaeologists who later found these cities described them not as ruins, but as rediscoveries. Every wall uncovered, every carving brushed clean, felt like a heartbeat returning after centuries of sleep. It was as if the jungle had kept them safe, hiding them until the time was right to be remembered. Each discovery whispered of the same truth, that nothing built in harmony with nature is ever truly lost. It merely waits, patient and green. In the heart of these ancient places, there is no sound of sorrow, only the hum of life continuing. The forest sings softly through the stones, the wind carries stories through the branches. It's easy to forget that what we call ruins were once homes, full of warmth, laughter, and dreams. Yet, even now, that warmth lingers, woven into the air like a memory that refuses to fade. If you close your eyes, you can almost feel it, still alive, still listening. The abandoned cities became resting places for time itself. Moss blanketed the steps, water pooled in quiet corners, and the jungle grew tall around the towers. Each day, sunlight slipped through the leaves, painting golden lines on forgotten carvings. It was as if the forest had built a cathedral of silence, one not for worship, but for peace. And within that peace, the Maya world continued to breathe, softly, beneath the green. As years turned into centuries, the jungle became their shelter. Vines grew thick across every doorway, wrapping the temples like ribbons of green silk. Roots pressed deep into the earth, steady and strong, holding the stones as if to keep them from falling apart. The forest did not rush, it simply waited, layer by layer, wrapping the cities in a gentle, endless sleep. Rainwater flowed through ancient canals, polishing the carvings that still lined the walls. Moss spread like soft cloth across the stones, catching the morning dew. Birdsong echoed where once there had been the sound of human voices. The jungle did not mourn what had passed. It honored it, carrying the memory of the Maya quietly within its heart. Every fallen stone became part of the soil, every cracked stair a home for small creatures. The boundaries between what was built and what was grown disappeared. The cities of the Maya became part of the living forest, not monuments to loss, but reminders of renewal. Nature had not taken their world. It had folded it gently back into its own design. When explorers stumbled upon these cities, centuries later, they found not ruins of despair, but beauty draped in silence. The forest had painted over them with its own colors, shades of green, gold, and shadow. Temples rose from the earth like forgotten mountains, wrapped in vines that glowed with morning mist. It was as if the jungle had been waiting for someone to listen again. Let yourself drift here, where silence holds stories instead of endings. You don't have to stay awake to remember. You can rest while the world continues to turn. The forest doesn't rush, and neither should you. In stillness, everything that matters finds its way back to peace. Archaeologists brushed away soil to reveal steps that led nowhere and walls that opened into light. Every discovery was both a question and an answer, proof that history never truly disappears. Even when buried, memory breathes. The Maya were gone from their great cities, but their presence lingered in every vine and shadow. The jungle had become their storyteller. Each sound, the rustle of leaves, the trickle of water, the echo of a bird spoke in place of words. Through these sounds, the memory of the Maya lived on, whispered softly across centuries of wind. The earth itself seemed to remember, holding their story beneath layers of green and silence. If you were to stand there today, in the middle of one of those hidden plazas, you would feel it, the sense of being watched, not by ghosts, but by memory. Sunlight would spill across the stones, warm and quiet, touching carvings made by hands long gone. And you would understand, what fades from sight is never truly gone. The Maya cities may have been abandoned, but they were never forgotten. The people's descendants still live across those lands, speaking the same ancient languages, caring for the same soil. Their ancestors' homes now belong to the forest, but their story continues in the hearts of those who remember. History, like nature, is never lost, only transformed. Tonight, as you breathe and listen, imagine the forest settling around you too. The sound of rain on leaves, the scent of earth after a storm, the quiet rhythm of life continuing. The abandoned cities rest not in sorrow, but in peace, embraced by time, remembered by the earth. And as the night deepens, you can rest with them calm, still, and safe beneath the same sky that watched over them all. The forest did not conquer the Maya cities. It welcomed them home. Where stone once marked the edges of streets, roots now weave gentle patterns, tracing over what was built long ago. Branches arch above the old plazas, like quiet guardians, filtering sunlight into soft, golden fragments. The jungle does not speak in words, yet every leaf and vine tells the story of how it reclaimed what was always its own. Morning light drifts through layers of green, touching the tops of ancient temples. Moisture beads on ferns, dripping slowly into pools that shimmer with reflected sky. Butterflies dance through broken archways, and orchids bloom in the shadows of fallen walls. It's hard to see where the human world ends and the natural one begins. Perhaps, now, they are the same. Each day, the forest breathes new life into what remains. Birds nest in carvings once shaped by steady hands, and lizards dart across stones warmed by the sun. The air hums softly with insects and the low rhythm of unseen creatures moving through the undergrowth. In this harmony, the past and present exist side by side, silent, patient, and alive. The vines that curl around the temples are not symbols of ruin. They are gentle hands. They hold the stones together when time might have torn them apart. They shade the carvings from the harsh sun, preserving faces and symbols that would otherwise fade away. In its own quiet way, the jungle became both healer and historian. Take a slow breath and imagine standing in that stillness. The air is cool, rich with the scent of rain-soaked soil and blooming flowers. Every sound feels close. The trickle of water, the rustle of leaves, the soft hum of life continuing. You feel small, but not insignificant, simply part of something vast and peaceful. The forest does not rush. Its patience is measured in centuries, its purpose hidden in every root and branch. It reminds us that nothing truly ends. Everything becomes part of something else. The stones beneath the vines are not forgotten, they are resting. Let your thoughts slow to the pace of the forest. There's no need to follow time or detail. Just breathe in rhythm with this living world, where silence is never empty, and every shadow carries memory. You are safe here, wrapped in calm, like the cities beneath their green embrace. The forest's protection was not destruction but devotion. Where humans saw the end of a civilization, nature saw the chance for renewal. It filled the empty plazas with life, roots, and flowers, wind and rain, as if whispering, "Rest now. Your work is done." And in that rest, the Maya world found peace beyond time. When the storms came, the forest held firm. Its trees bent with the wind, its roots clung to stone, and its canopy sheltered the ruins below. Even in chaos, there was order, the natural balance the Maya had once understood so deeply. The jungle became both their legacy and their refuge, keeping their story alive without ever needing to speak. Now, centuries later, travelers who find these places describe a quiet awe. They feel the breadth of the forest, the weight of history softened by beauty. There is no sense of decay, only continuity, as if life itself refused to forget. The forest's embrace is not the end of the Maya story, but its gentle continuation beneath the endless rhythm of the earth. As time went on, the forest became a living monument. Every vine and branch played a role in preserving the past, sealing cracks, softening corners, and weaving beauty through decay. Even fallen stones became gardens, wrapped in moss and wildflowers. The jungle turned what was once a city into a sanctuary, not lost, but resting beneath its care. When rain falls through the canopy, it sounds like distant applause, a rhythm older than memory. Droplets slide down vines, gathering in pools that mirror the green above. The air cools, the world darkens slightly, and the forest exhales in satisfaction. It feels alive in a way that words cannot capture, a slow, breathing peace that never ends. Animals, too, became part of this living story. Monkeys swing across temple tops, toucans perch upon carvings, and frogs sing from the hollow of old stairways. Each creature carries on the quiet work of nature to renew, to fill, to continue. What the Maya built now lives again through countless small acts of life that know nothing of time. In the dim light beneath the trees, the carvings still hold their shape. Faces and symbols remain, softened by rain, but not erased. The forest, like a careful artist, has added its own touches, lichen and roots tracing along the lines, painting history with patience. The stones may no longer speak in words, but they still listen. Let your thoughts drift here, among roots and shadows. You don't have to imagine every detail. Just rest in the calm of renewal. The forest teaches without sound. It tells us that endings are only beginnings in disguise. And as you breathe, you are part of that same unbroken rhythm. The sun returns, slipping through the trees in golden threads. Light catches the water pooled between stones, turning them into mirrors of the sky. Every droplet shines, as if remembering the cities that once stood proud beneath this same light. The forest doesn't hide the past, it reflects it, gently, like sunlight on calm water. Sometimes, a breeze moves through the canopy, and the leaves whisper softly. It's as if the jungle is sighing, not with sadness, but with peace. It has done its work, carried its duty, and now it simply breathes. In that breath lies centuries of life, growth, and memory intertwined. Those who wander here feel it immediately, a silence that hums, a stillness that feels alive. It's the sound of time balanced perfectly, neither rushing forward nor reaching back. The forest holds the present and the past together like two hands folded in prayer. And within that union, everything feels whole again. When night comes, the forest glows faintly with life, fireflies drifting like stars between the trees. Their light flickers against the stone, tracing faint outlines of carvings made long ago. It feels as if the earth itself is remembering, sharing its stories through light and air. The jungle's embrace becomes a lullaby quiet, eternal, and full of peace. So, the Maya may have faded from their great cities, but they were never gone. The forest remembers their footsteps, the rivers their reflection, the wind their quiet songs. In nature's care, their story continues, not in stone alone, but in every living thing that grew from the same soil. The world holds them still, softly, in its green and endless arms. Though the grand cities fell silent, the Maya people themselves did not vanish. They carried their world with them, in their language, in their hands, and in their quiet understanding of the land. While the stones rested beneath the jungle, the living heart of their culture continued to beat, steady and patient. It was not an ending, but a transformation, one that still breathes through the descendants who walk those same valleys today. In villages scattered across Central America, the rhythm of life remains familiar. Fields of maize still sway beneath the sun, woven cloth still brightens the market stalls, and stories still travel from voice to voice by firelight. Time may have changed their surroundings, but it could not erase the knowledge born from centuries of harmony with the earth. Their connection to the land was never broken, only reshaped, carried forward through care and memory. The languages they speak today trace back to those carved symbols found on temple walls. Each word carries echoes of the past, sounds once whispered through the forest, now shared again in daily conversation. In every syllable lies continuity, not nostalgia. It's as if the ancient voices simply softened their tone, becoming part of everyday life once more. If you listen closely, you can still hear the same rhythm that once filled the old cities, the rustle of leaves, the hum of insects, the slow, steady work of planting and harvesting, all are echoes of what once was. The Maya world did not vanish. It dissolved gently into the lives of those who came after. History here is not distant. It breathes quietly in every act of living. Take a slow breath. Feel how history isn't something behind you, it surrounds you, moves with you, and waits within the silence between heartbeats. The Maya understood this truth, that to endure is not to resist change, but to adapt without forgetting. And through that quiet wisdom, they remain among us still. Their craftsmanship endures too. Weavers still use looms built in the same way their ancestors did. Patterns of bright red, gold, and indigo still tell stories of mountains, rivers, and stars. Each thread is both memory and prayer, not to stone gods, but to the earth that sustains and the balance that guides. In their hands, history becomes something gentle. A woven cloth, a clay pot, a line of maize in a sunlit field, these are their monuments now. No walls, no towers, only the quiet persistence of beauty in everyday life. It's a reminder that the simplest things often carry the deepest roots. Let yourself slow down here. You don't need to hold every word. Let them pass like wind through the trees. The story of the Maya is not one to be studied, but to be felt, calm, patient, and unbroken. As the forest taught them, endurance often hides in stillness. Their knowledge of the seasons still guides planting today. They read the sky, the soil, and the rain with the same understanding passed through generations. They know when the clouds will change, when the earth is ready to rest, when the rivers will rise. Through these acts, they speak to their ancestors, not in ritual, but in gratitude for what was taught. To walk through a Maya village today is to walk through time. Children play where once the great plazas stood. The same sun warms their faces. The same wind moves through the same trees. Life continues in its most natural form, not as a reconstruction, but as a living continuation of what has never truly been lost. Their connection to the earth remains sacred, not in ritual, but in responsibility. They plant with intention, harvest with care, and give the soil time to heal. The same hands that once built temples now shape fields and gardens, tending to life with the same quiet devotion. Through this balance, they preserve not just their livelihood, but the gentle wisdom of their ancestors. In the stillness of early morning, smoke rises from small homes, and the air fills with the scent of maize and woodfire. Children laugh, elders speak softly, and roosters call across the hills. It's an ordinary morning, yet it holds centuries of memory. The rhythm of daily life is itself a continuation of something ancient, something that never needed to be written to survive. Their art, too, still speaks. Pottery painted in natural tones, woven fabrics that shimmer in sunlight, jewelry shaped from stone and seed, all carry the patterns of time. Each creation tells a story, not of loss, but of persistence. They do not seek to recreate the past. They live it quietly, in color, in texture, in care. When the rains return each season, they fall on the same valleys and rivers that once fed the great cities. The earth receives the water, and the crops rise again, as they always have. To the Maya descendants, this is not coincidence, it is continuity. The world may change its form, but its essence, granted by the Creator, remains the same. This story is not about disappearance, but endurance. Let that word rest with you for a moment. Endurance does not shout. It breathes slowly through patience and care. The Maya story reminds us that what is built in balance will always find a way to remain. In every small act, planting a seed, teaching a child, weaving a thread, the past and present meet. There is no sharp divide, only a flowing connection that stretches quietly across time. Their strength is not found in monuments, but in their gentleness toward the earth. And in that gentleness, there is power, calm, steadfast, and lasting. The descendants of the Maya continue to live across these lands, speaking over 30 languages rooted in the old tongue. Their traditions have shifted, but not disappeared. Festivals of harvest, songs of rain, and dances of renewal still carry the same meanings they always did: gratitude, balance, and peace. It is proof that identity, when built on harmony, can survive even the slow passing of centuries. When travelers visit their villages, they often describe a feeling of calm. The air seems slower, the sounds softer, the colors deeper. There's no rush, no urgency, only the quiet rhythm of people who have learned to listen to the land. Perhaps that is the true legacy of the Maya, the ability to live fully within time rather than against it. Even as the modern world moves faster, their lessons endure. To care for the soil, to honor balance, to live with patience, these are not ideas of the past. They are the very things the world still needs most. And through the descendants of the Maya, those lessons continue to be shared, softly, like ripples in still water. So tonight, as you listen, know that the story of the Maya has never ended. It flows through rivers, through hands that plant, through voices that remember. It is the story of continuity, the calm truth that what is built in harmony will never truly fade. And just like them, you too are part of that same circle, resting, breathing, and remembering what remains unbroken. The forest, if you listen closely, still whispers its lessons. It speaks not with words, but with rhythm, the slow drip of rain, the sigh of leaves, the steady pulse of growth. The Maya once understood this language completely. They learned that peace comes not from control, but from cooperation with what already lives around you. And in that harmony, they built a world both strong and gentle. The story of the Maya is not one of failure. It is one of balance, lost and found again. For centuries, they thrived because they understood how to live with the land, not on top of it. They took only what they needed, and in return, the earth provided. Even when the balance shifted, they listened first, before acting, before changing, before rebuilding. Their patience was their greatest form of wisdom. If we were to take anything from their story, it would be this: that the world offers enough when we live with care. The forest has no greed, no rush, no demand for more. It grows where it must, rests when it should, and gives without pride. The Maya lived by that same quiet rhythm, guided by gratitude rather than desire. In their understanding, every living thing carried purpose. The rivers taught them movement, the trees taught them endurance, and the soil taught them humility. When they planted seeds, they did not only expect harvest, they gave thanks for the chance to nurture life. Their world was one of exchange, not ownership, where care was the foundation of existence. Take a moment to breathe with that thought. The same air that fills your lungs tonight once moved through those same forests, across the same valleys. It's humbling to realize that time is not a wall between us, but a bridge. Through patience and attention, we can still hear what they once knew, that harmony begins with listening. The Maya understood that every act has a ripple. A tree cut, a field planted, a river diverted, each choice echoed through the land. They lived by cycles, knowing that what is given will return, for better or worse. That knowledge guided them like a compass, reminding them that nothing in nature truly stands alone. Let the rhythm of this story slow your thoughts. You don't need to remember everything. Just feel the calm behind each word. Like the forest, the lesson unfolds slowly, without effort. Peace isn't a thing to chase, it's a space that grows when you allow silence to stay. When the Maya looked to the forest, they saw not wilderness, but wisdom. They saw systems that worked without command, trees that shared light, roots that shared water. They saw strength in cooperation, beauty in restraint, and meaning in stillness. To them, the forest was not something to conquer, but to learn from. Even today, when you walk through a quiet place, a forest, a field, a garden, you can feel a trace of that same understanding. Every sound feels measured, every scent carries calm. It's as if the world still remembers how to breathe slowly, even when people forget. That is the oldest lesson the Maya ever learned, and perhaps the one we need most now. In the end, their wisdom was simple. Live gently. Listen first. Take only what can be returned. And remember that the earth, when treated with respect, never truly forgets kindness. That truth kept their civilization alive for centuries, and it still lives quietly beneath the canopy of time. The Maya lived by a truth that the world often forgets, that progress without balance leads only to exhaustion. They built, but they also rested. They planned, but they also paused to observe the natural rhythm around them. Their lives flowed with patience, and from that patience came stability, a lesson written not in books, but in the very soil they tended. When the rains failed and the rivers dried, they did not curse the sky. They looked inward, asking what could be learned. They trusted that even hardship carries purpose, that the Creator's design always holds a quiet wisdom beneath what seems uncertain. To them, every drought, every flood, every shift in the earth was a teacher in disguise. Their story reminds us that human strength is not measured by what we can build, but by what we can preserve. The Maya endured because they learned to yield, to let go when the world asked for rest. Their greatness was never in conquest or wealth, but in harmony. That harmony still breathes through the forests, rivers, and people who carry their memory today. Take a slow, full breath. Let your chest rise and fall like the tides of time itself. In that motion, you're doing what the Maya once did, living within rhythm, not outside it. The earth doesn't hurry, and neither should you. They understood that balance requires humility. To plant without greed, to build without arrogance, to take without forgetting to give. Every act was an offering, not of worship, but of care. And in that care, they found a peace that outlasted even their grandest cities. You can rest within this stillness. The forest of their story is not a place you must walk through. It's a feeling you can rest in. It's the soft awareness that life is continuous, that even what fades returns in another form. As you listen, imagine those quiet lessons sinking into the calm of your own heart. The forest, even now, carries their wisdom forward. It grows over ruins, but it does not erase them. It holds them gently, reminding the world that memory can coexist with renewal. Every new leaf is a page written over old stone, carrying the story onward. To live gently, that is the essence of what remains. It means moving through the world with awareness, not noise. It means finding strength in stillness and peace in small, deliberate acts. The Maya showed us that a civilization can thrive without shouting its greatness into history. When the night falls and the forest grows quiet, that wisdom hums beneath the surface of the world. It lives in the rhythm of rain, in the sigh of wind through leaves, in the breath of those who pause long enough to hear it. The Maya listened, and because they listened, their spirit remains. Their lesson was never to conquer the world, but to belong to it. And so, their story continues, not as ruins beneath the earth, but as calm reminders scattered across time. Every rustle of leaves, every drop of rain, every quiet act of care carries a piece of them forward. They have shown us that what is lived in harmony cannot be destroyed. It only changes its form, waiting to be rediscovered by anyone still willing to listen. Night settles slowly over the jungle. The air cools, the wind softens, and the sky deepens into a quiet ocean of stars. Somewhere far off, a stream whispers through the roots, and the call of a night bird echoes between the trees. In that stillness, it's easy to imagine the presence of those who once walked here, not as ghosts, but as memories folded gently into the rhythm of the forest. The jungle holds their echoes in every sound, the rustle of palm leaves, the trickle of water, the hum of unseen creatures, all blend into a single living melody. It's not sorrowful, it's serene, a hymn of continuation. The Maya may have left their cities, but their world never truly left them. It lingers here, woven through the canopy, breathing softly beneath the moonlight. When you walk beneath these trees, the past feels close enough to touch. Each step sinks into soil rich with time, each breath filled with the scent of rain and life. The stones beneath your feet are warm, alive with moss, their carvings faded but not forgotten. You can almost hear the faint murmur of voices, laughter, song, the steady rhythm of 1,000 days lived long ago. Take a slow breath, and let the sound of the forest surround you. There is no rush, no destination, only the quiet unfolding of the night. Even the stars above seem slower here, their light softened by the thick, green breath of the trees. It's as if the universe itself is pausing, holding still to listen. In that silence, you can sense what remains unseen, the deep connection between memory and place. The forest has not erased the Maya. It has carried them forward in its own language of roots and wind. Every sound you hear tonight is an echo of that language, still whispering, still alive. It reminds you that what once was, still is, only hidden in gentler forms. The jungle hums like a lullaby, low and steady. Each note of sound, a drip, a rustle, a sigh, feels deliberate, almost musical. It soothes the mind, slows the breath, and invites stillness to settle deep within. You begin to understand why the forest has always been a place of remembering, because it never truly forgets. You don't need to think, you don't need to follow. Just listen to the rhythm between words, the quiet pulse beneath the story. Let it carry you, the way a river carries fallen leaves, slowly, gently, without resistance. This is how history becomes peace, through stillness, not through answers. The forest at night feels alive, but not awake. It moves without urgency, breathes without effort, and sings without sound. It's the same world the Maya once knew, calm, vast, and deeply connected to every living thing. To stand here is to stand between centuries, where time feels soft and endless. Sometimes, a faint breeze carries the scent of wet stone and wildflowers. It moves through the ruins like a whisper, brushing against the carvings, then vanishing into the dark. It feels like the world exhaling, slow, gentle, at peace with its own silence. And in that moment, everything feels whole again. The echoes of the jungle are not memories fading, they are life continuing. The forest doesn't mourn the past. It nurtures it, turns it into new leaves, new life, new light. And somewhere within that cycle, the Maya still exist, not in stone or legend, but in the heartbeat of the living world. Every rustle of leaf, every breath of air, is proof that nothing truly disappears. It only changes form. As the night deepens, the forest grows quieter still. The sounds of day have vanished into the shadows, replaced by the slow rhythm of creatures that live only under moonlight. Somewhere, a drop of water falls into a stone basin with a gentle echo, a sound so small, yet so endless. It feels like time itself, exhaling, content to rest for a while beneath the stars. The jungle glows faintly in the darkness. Fireflies drift through the air like scattered embers, their light flickering against the old stones. Each spark feels like a heartbeat, a pulse of life reminding the world that history is not dead, it only sleeps. And in that sleep, the stories of the Maya still move softly, unbroken, like whispers in the leaves. When you look up, the stars above the forest seem endless. It's the same sky the Maya once watched, the same constellations they used to mark the passing of seasons. Nothing separates you from them now, not distance, not time, not silence. You breathe the same air, feel the same warmth, and share the same wonder beneath the infinite night. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the quiet weight of that connection, not heavy, but grounding, peaceful. The jungle has always been more than a place. It is a reminder of how small we are, and yet how connected to everything around us. It teaches, gently, that all things return to stillness, and that stillness is not the end, it's the beginning of rest. If your thoughts are wandering, that's perfectly fine. You don't need to hold on to the story anymore. Let it drift like mist through trees. This is the moment where the world slows to match your heartbeat, where history fades into comfort. You can rest here, safely, as the jungle hums its soft, endless lullaby. Somewhere deep within the forest, the stones still stand, covered in moss, kissed by light. Their silence is not empty. It's full of memory. Each one has watched centuries pass. Storms come and go, roots rise and bloom again. They are not monuments to what was lost, but to what endures quietly. without needing to be seen. If you listen closely, you might hear the faint murmur of rain beginning to fall. The droplets slide down leaves, gather on petals, and slip into the soil. It is a sound older than language, the earth's way of saying everything is in balance again. And as the rain deepens, the forest seems to whisper goodnight. The echoes fade, but not away, only into gentleness. The jungle returns to its steady breath, the stars to their soft glow. It is in this rhythm, slow and tender, that the story of the Maya finally rests. Their world, once filled with voices, now sleeps peacefully beneath the same sky that has always watched over it. Take one final breath here, calm, slow, and easy. Let it remind you that history is not only a record of what's gone, but a mirror of what still lives within us. Just as the forest remembers the Maya, your own heart remembers the peace of quiet stories, the comfort of time unfolding softly. And as you drift toward sleep, the echoes of the jungle follow, gentle, endless, kind. Thank you for joining me tonight, for walking through the quiet paths of the Maya world. If you've enjoyed this quiet journey through history, I invite you to subscribe and return next time. There's always another forgotten story waiting for you. Next time, we'll explore a haunting question that once lingered in the minds of many. Why did people once fear nightmares were real? Until then, rest well, dream gently, and let the echoes of the past guide you into peaceful sleep.